So when it comes to writing chord progressions, one of the common shortcomings that we experience as songwriters, I've definitely experienced this, I'm sure most of you have experienced this as well, and then it's just this feeling that my chord progressions aren't that interesting, right? And that sucks. I hate that feeling. It feels like you always land on the same progressions every time. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about how we can strengthen our chord progression muscles and actually write better chord progressions and more interesting ones. Now, there's sort of a dirty little secret here, and that's this. It might not actually be the chord progression that's the problem. You ever think about that? Because think of yourself as just a casual listener of music. What do you hear when you hear a song? You don't hear the chord progression, or at least not in isolation, not really explicitly. You hear a combination of things. You hear the melody, you hear the chords, the harmony, which is in the chords, and then you hear the rhythm and the groove of the song. And then there's obviously all the other things as well. You hear the tonation, you hear the resonance, you hear the, a singer's tone versus what somebody else's voice sounds like, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, when it comes to making your song interesting, sometimes it's not about creating a complex chord progression. And it's more about creating a chord progression that fits the song, that actually serves the song well. See, that's the whole point of your chord progression. Does it serve the mood and the feel of that song? Because if you just make the chord progression more interesting, that actually doesn't mean that the song overall is going to be that much more interesting. So here's the point, and here is the destination we need to reach. We need to find that spot when we're writing songs where the melody, the chords, and the groove, and you can throw in the lyric as well, and the energy and the emotion, whatever. But let's just narrow it down to those three. Melody, chords, and groove, to where they meet in such a way that your mind, your body, and your soul react in this harmonious way. It's like there's this harmony of agreement within yourself on these multiple levels of your body, mind, and spirit, however you want to classify that. And you reach a place when you're listening to a song where it feels like they're all in lockstep. They all feel the song. And what is this phenomenon? Some of you know exactly what I'm about to say next. This phenomenon is very simple, as there's this quote from Brett Manning that I absolutely love in one of his videos I watched once, vocal coach Brett Manning. And he said this about when he goes to perform a song, especially in a live setting, or even when you're recording it. His quote was, "I only care if you believe me." That's the quote. I only care if you believe me. It might sound like we're getting off track, but I promise we're not. This is all connected to making your chord progressions more interesting. Because can I tell you a little secret? There's a little backdoor secret to making your chord progressions more interesting. Do you know what it is? It's making your melodies more interesting. That's it. Now, even that, don't take that the wrong way. It doesn't mean that your melodies now have to have 136 trills and licks and going all over. No. The game of music is this constant interplay between tension and release. And the more that you tap into that and the more that you toe that line, that is how you create interesting songs, which includes your chord progression, your melody, and the rhythm and everything else. So I'm kind of talking you through, in some of you might think this is an incoherent message, and you're probably right, but I don't care because I just want to explore these ideas with you. And I think it's very much worth exploring to where I don't have a complete script or a complete definite outline for this video in particular anyway. Most of the times I do. But for this, I just want to kind of explore and lean into, okay, how do you actually get a better chord progression? And that is one thing. It's like sometimes the problem isn't the chord progression. It's how the melody plays off the chord progression. See, that's where you build tension and release. What you never want to do, basically never, there, with very few exceptions, you don't want your melody to feel so predictable that it is following the chords exactly. And what that means is, if you're playing on the piano, and I don't have a piano right next to me right now, but if you're playing on a piano and you're going da 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 da, you're doing that, you don't want the melody to go da 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 da, to just follow it like in such a predictable way. That is so boring. That's like a movie where the characters just go live their life and everybody's happy and having a good time, and they spend their evenings dancing and drinking wine, and they go to bed and they wake up and the sun's shining and it's wonderful. It's too predictable. It's too easy. That isn't a good reflection or a good representation of life. You want to build some tension. And just last week, as of recording this, Rick Beato, most of you will know who that is, great YouTuber, fantastic dude. So he has a series on YouTube called What Makes This Song Great? And he goes through even the stems, like he actually gets a hold of the original mixed stems. And so he can even go through the song in solo. So he's done like classic pop songs and classic rock songs, all of that in this YouTube series. And the last one that he did, I loved because it was the Killers song, Mr. Brightside. And I've even done a remake of that song on my channel, which you can see on a few videos on my YouTube channel. And one of the things that is so interesting about the melody that Beato pointed out is that it is, for a large part of the song, especially in the verse, it's kind of a one-note melody. Right? Coming out of my cage and it's da 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 da. It's just that thing. It's doing the da da, and even in the chorus, da 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 da. It's just doing that, and it's very repetitive and has this one-note melodic sort of feel to it. But why does it sound so colorful and interesting, right? This is kind of the opposite of what I just said about maybe the problem isn't your chord progression. It's just that your melody needs to be better. And that could actually be the case here too. Maybe your melody jumps around too much. Maybe it follows the chord progression too much. And you need to just freaking simplify the damn thing and just take the Killers approach on Mr. Brightside and create the tension. See, this is what I talk about. If you've taken my music theory course, or if you've watched a few of my videos on chords and music theory, then you probably have heard me talk about the sustained note technique. It's the same type of thing. It's like, instead of just jumping around from one chord and going da 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 da, doing all of that, instead of that, you build tension by staying in the same area on your melody, and then you let the chords move around it, and that automatically creates tension. And that's what happens in the Mr. Brightside song by the Killers. And so, just to wrap this up, to bring this home, so at the end of the day, here's the advice I'll give when it comes to improving the quality of your chord progressions, which includes your melodies and the rhythm, because what really makes a good chord progression is because of what the melody brings to the table too. Like, it's not the chord progression in isolation that is truly great. You need the melody to make the chord progression great. But that said, my best advice to you when it comes to just practicing and getting a good ear and a good skill set for learning chord progressions, this is very simple. It's a super, super simple idea. And it's this: become deadly familiar with all the chord progressions from your favorite artists. Literally, right now, go to Spotify, make a playlist. I actually want you to do this right now on your phone. Grab your phone, open up Spotify, and make a playlist, and just add one album of your favorite artist, one of your favorite artists or bands, add it to that playlist, and commit to, over the next 7 days, that you're going to learn every single chord progression on that album. You can use an app like Ultimate Guitar Tabs, whatever, or even just the internet to search the chords. I mean, that can be a pain too, because there's so many like wrong chord charts out there. But still, that's what I recommend. Become deadly familiar with the chord progressions And then what will also happen is you also become familiar with the way that the melodies and the chord progressions play off each other, how they relate, how they build tension and release. Sometimes they're on the same wavelength, and then sometimes they fight a little, and then they come back, right? There's that game, there's that constant push-pull tension between the melody and the progression. So really tune into that and emulate that, imitate it. And this is why doing remakes and doing covers is so powerful. As if you want to build your skills as an artist, it's one of the best ways to develop your ear is to start producing remakes. Or if you're just a musician and you don't really want to do all of the tracks, just record covers with a guitar and your voice. That is going to help develop your ear in such a powerful way that you're going to thank me for it later. So I promise, do this. Do some remakes or do some covers and just become deadly familiar with the chord progressions and then also the melodies that surround those chord progressions from your favorite artists. So that is today's video. This was a wild one. I did not expect to go into so many paths in this video. I just kind of turned the mic on. I had a basic outline to start, but I pretty much abandoned it like 2 minutes in. And that is where we end, my friend. So thank you for watching this bonus video here in the course. Now go and apply it. I hope you learned something from it, and I'll see you in the next one.